Howdy, this is Strider, and I run the channel PhantomStrider on YouTube. Let's talk about Obsessive Compulsive Behaviours, also known as OCD. While the term OCD is thrown around so loosely nowadays that it can apply to anyone who cleans the dishes regularly, most people who've had some symptoms of real OCD know it can be crippling and exhausting. I'm talking about when you have to clean your hands 10 to 30 times a night just to feel okay. Or when you have to check a door is locked every 12 minutes. For those who haven't guessed yet, I've got some obsessive compulsive tendencies myself. I'm also on the autism spectrum and have some anxiety symptoms, so I'd like to share some tips that have personally worked for me in case they might help others. But while people on the autism spectrum can be more prone to anxiety or OCD, these can affect anyone. Like, for all we know, Caesar might have got his guards to check the drawbridges were up 9 times a night. Also, thanks to Mercedes for helping me write this. Thanks for being such a great friend. OCD can be like this drive to get the absolute pin-perfect perfection in everything you do, to the point where it drives you just to exhaustion. So let's take a fairly common example. Someone washes their hands every time they touch something slightly dirty in the house, resulting in them washing their hands 50 times that night. Obviously, an obsessive-compulsive person knows this is a waste of their time, but they've got to keep doing that behavior in order to ease that irrational anxiety. Another example, you've checked every door in the house is locked 9 times tonight, but if you just check one more time, hopefully that will be enough. Spoiler alert, it's never enough for anxiety. It's always got to be more. The frustrating part about these habits is they tend to sneak up on us, happening more and more regularly until we're performing them constantly without even realizing it's happened. Although these are only a couple of examples, the basic rules of obsessive-compulsive thoughts still apply. So, what do you do when you feel that sudden need to wash your hands or check the locked door again? First off, don't waste your time trying to prevent or not think about the thought. What we sometimes don't realize is that if we allow ourselves to simply be with this thought for a time, it will fade by itself. But by doing that irrational obsessive behavior, we're actually making it more real in our heads. But if you simply allow yourself to sit and be with that anxiety for a while, it disappears by itself. It fades over time. Because you can't be anxious and bored at the same time. And each time you allow yourself to sit with that thought, let it fade without taking action, it will lose more and more of its grip on you. The more you try to get rid of the thought, the more it'll come back to fight you later. So let's take that thought and fight it. Oddly enough, if you want to think about it less, just think about it more. Because when we think about that thought, we begin to realize it's unjustified and it begins to fade on its own. Because you can't be bored and anxious at the same time. And once you're bored of the thought, it loses its compulsive fear and you think about something else. Cool, huh? That being said, if you're trying to avoid doing obsessive-compulsive behaviors and end up doing one, that's okay, don't beat yourself up. You haven't lost any of your progress, just start again and you can do it. Let's put that obsessive thought in the form of cognitive behavioral therapy. Consider that obsessive thought like a pest thought, an annoying thought. When you have that pest thought of, say, needing to check the locks again or wash your hands again, stop and catch the pest thought. Identify the thought that came before that need. What is it you're really worried about, and is checking this lock really going to help that? Check the thought. Reflect on how accurate or useful this irrational thought is. Is it really going to do anything if you clean your hands again or wash your hands again? Allow yourself to sit with that anxiety, because you can't be bored or anxious at the same time. Now that you've caught and identified that thought, thirdly, change it into a more realistic one. Maybe check the doors once at the start of the night and remind yourself every time you have that obsessive thought that I already checked every single door tonight, so I don't have to check them again. In the case of washing your hands, remind yourself how clean you already are and how statistically unlikely it is for you to get sick. And even if you did get sick, it's not the end of the world. It's certainly not worth washing your hands 30 times a night. I'm not saying that you're likely to get sick, I'm just saying that you don't need to feed the irrational thought. So to summarize, allow the obsessive-compulsive thought. Allow yourself to think about that thought, because you can't be bored and anxious at the same time. These thoughts probably aren't going anywhere for the time being, so we need to be ready for them. And while you're sitting with the thought, catch that pest thought. Did a particular thought before this make you want to check the doors or wash your hands again? And check that pest thought. Reflect on how realistic this thought really is. Change the thought to a more accurate, realistic, and helpful one. Maybe tell yourself, I'm already very clean, or I'm very, very safe. OCD and anxiety are things that don't have to rule you forever. By learning the right thought techniques and how to handle and accept these thoughts, there is hope for you to have peace of mind in the future. And of course, regular walks, slow deep breathing, and being out in nature can really help these anxious thoughts as well. Even if they don't directly help the obsessive compulsive behaviors, they help the anxiety that causes these obsessive compulsive behaviors originally. So try your best to get out for a little walk at least once a day. And feel free to check out my second anxiety tips video if you'd like some tips on deep breathing and relaxation. And if you've got your own tips on anxiety or OCD, or just want to share your story, feel free to do so in the comments. Thanks for listening to me waffle on for a bit, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'll be out with a new video soon.